So this week, for some reason, I only have women authors. Let's get to it. Hi everyone, I'm Sandy, making sure my microphone is on. And today I have a 1001 book countdown video for you. If you're not familiar with the 1001 book countdown, I will leave a card up here for you where you can go check out the original video with all of the details in it. But basically, I'm reading books off of the 1001 books you must read before you die list, and I'm just slowly making my way through that list. So I'm rapidly approaching 10% complete, which is amazing. But yeah, if you want to go check that out, there's also a playlist if you want to go and watch all the old videos of the first 80 plus books that I have read. You are certainly welcome to do that as well. But hopefully you consider giving me a subscribe and sticking around for a while and seeing how far I make it through this massive project. But for today, what we'll go ahead and do is put up the numbers, which I have written down, which are 922 and 27. So 27 is my goal that I have left for 2022. Every year at the beginning of the year, I pre-select 52 books and then see how many of those I can get to, because I like to see the number shrink. Sometimes if you have a big number, it doesn't reduce down very fast. So that's just something, the 52 books that I have been focusing on, and I only have 27. But let's go ahead and get into the books for today. And I do have two, and both by female authors. The first one is The Robber Bride by Margaret Atwood. This is another absolutely beautiful Bloomsbury edition with that silver foil on the cover. Very well constructed as well. I did read from this book. I really enjoyed the reading experience from this book without a doubt. This book was originally published, let me look in the back, which is where my notes are, originally published in 1993. And so Atwood actually has 6 novels on the 1001 list, but she has written far more than that. And for me, this is my 5th one that I have actually read. And so not 5th one on the list, but 5th one overall. The two I have left to read are Alias Grace and Surfacing. The one I thought was on the list that wasn't was Oryx and Crake. So yeah, I don't know why I thought that one was on the list, but when I checked, it definitely wasn't. So this book is kind of in the middle of Atwood's novels that actually immediately followed Cat's Eye, which was the one Atwood I read immediately before this one, which I loved, which was a 5-star read. So this book follows 3 different women, actually kind of 4 different women, but 3 different women primarily. It starts with them going to lunch, I think it was lunch at a restaurant, and they see someone who they all know who they actually thought was dead. And it is so weird and twisted in the beginning. You don't know what's going on, why this person would have said she was dead. A lawyer had contacted him, all this stuff. But then the next few sections follow the 3 women, 1 section per woman. So the first one is Tony or Antonia. And what happens in that section is you get her backstory, you get her relationship with this character who had said she was dead, which her name was Xenia, and you learn a lot about their relationship, how they knew each other, how twisted and like much of a psychopath Xenia feels like in this book. Very unfeeling, very doesn't seem to care about any reaction or anything that her stuff was causing. She just is doing whatever she wants to the detriment of everyone else in her life. So, but Tony is the first one. I really enjoyed Tony's story quite a bit. The second one, the second woman, whose name is Karen or Sheris, there's a story there as far as why her name changes. Her backstory is horrific. Some trigger warnings in there, so if those are concerning to you, definitely go check those out before picking up this book. But her story was certainly one of the most compelling stories, and I just really felt for her a lot, so much of what she went through. It also has her relationship with Xenia, how she allowed this woman to live in her home, it just didn't go well for poor Cheris. And then the third one is Roz, and it does the same thing. It goes through Roz's relationship with her, all of these different pieces. And Roz's backstory was probably the least effective of all three of the women. And about at that point, it kind of started to fall apart a little bit for me. The first part of the book was a 5-star read up until I think the first 4 sections. I was super interested in it. I did this as a buddy read with my friend Angela, who's in the Up to No Good book club, and that was amazing. She and I read it very, very quickly over just a few days, which I really wanted to keep reading this book. I was really enjoying it, really enjoying the characters. The last 2 chapters are where it lost me, unfortunately. I wanted a different ending. I wanted more of Xenia. I wanted to know her backstory. I wanted to know where she was coming from. I mean, I found that part fascinating. So yeah, just that part of it just really took it out of the 5-star range and put it more in the 3.5-star kind of range for me. I did still, like I said, really enjoy it for the most part. I thought it was a compelling read. I thought it was an easy one to read. But yeah, something about that last little bit just didn't work for me, which is really too bad. Oh, by the way, the title of this book, The Robber Bride, is actually based off of a fairy tale called The Robber Bridegroom. And there is a reason why it's called The Robber Bride, and you learn that if you read this book. But I'm still very much in love with these Bloomsbury editions. So pretty. Can't wait to get my new one, which is weirdly Oryx and Crake. I did find it, but it's not on the 1001 list, but I did get it. So I'm excited for that one. But yeah, The Robber Bride. But with this, we do get to go from 922 to 921, and it was on my 2022 list. So for that, we get to go from 27 to 26. So that's the first female author. The second one is for my 1001 book club, and it is Mansfield Park by Jane Austen, and this is for Jane Austen July. This is, sorry, let me back up for a second. This book was originally published in 1814, and it says it's the third book published, but it's not the third work by Austen. In investigating what I found out, Northanger Abbey was actually the first book, but it was published posthumously in 1817, I believe, or 1818, along with Persuasion, which I thought was really fascinating. So all 6 of Jane Austen's main works are actually on the 1001 book list, and this was the last one that I had to read. I have read Pride and Prejudice, Sense and Sensibility, Emma, Persuasion, and Northanger Abbey. So yeah, this was the last one, and I picked it for the book club because I knew it was Jane Austen July. So what is Mansfield Park all about? Mansfield Park is actually the name of a home. The main character, whose name is Fanny Price, goes to live with relatives in this beautiful countryside estate with some very spoiled cousins, and is thought to be first, kind of just sickly and unsophisticated. And then as she grows, she becomes much more desired, much more, appealing to the people who are visiting, including her uncle, all of these different characters. There's a lot of ways this felt like a very stereotypical piece of English literature. I have to say, out of all of Austen's work, this one is my least favorite. There are some characters in this that I adored. I adored them because they were horrible, by the way. So the first one was Mrs. Norris. She's, I believe, Fanny's aunt, and she was horrific. She was always just saying negative things about Fanny, negative things about everyone in the household. And I listened to the audiobook occasionally for this one, and the narrator pegged the voice of Mrs. Norris so incredibly well. It was absolutely hilarious. But yeah, there's a point in this where, someone wants to marry Fanny and she doesn't want to marry them. There's a lot of just back and forth and drama about that. She ends up going back home to her parents' house for a while, and then realizing that her parents' house wasn't necessarily as idealistic as it was in her mind. And so that was really interesting to me as well. But it sadly just wasn't my favorite. I do like this edition, though. I think this is a really pretty cover. It's the only Austen I have in this edition. So, but with that, I ended up putting it kind of in the 3-star range, sadly. So take that for what you will. Not my favorite Austen. My favorite still remains Persuasion. So, but with this, I'm looking at the back. Oops. I'm looking at the back. We go from 921 to 920. Very close to 10%, and it was on my 2022 list. So that number goes from 26 to 25. So we are 3 weeks in. I should be 29 books done with 23 books left. I have 25. So I'm still 2 books behind, but I caught up 1 this week, which is amazing. I'm very happy about that. I am planning on reading Cranford next by Elizabeth Gaskell, so we'll be keeping with the female author theme. Weirdly, the other 2 books I will be reading, actually the other 3 books I'll be reading are also by female authors. So many times this list has so many men represented in it, but for whatever reason this month I'm very heavy on female writers, which is great. So the other book I have been reading is Kristen Lavren's Doubter by Sigrid Undstedt, and I am reading part 2 of book 1. I haven't finished it yet, and I owe my friend Sonia an update, so I'm working on it, Sonia. I promise I will be reading it. The other book that I will be starting next week is Passing by Nella Larson, which I will be reading with Denise from La Rosa Reads and Kelly from Books I'm Not Reading. I'm very excited about that one. And the other book is Murder Must Advertise by Dorothy L. Sayers, and I'll be reading that with Kevy from Say Kevy. So yeah, lots of female writers this month, which is amazing because I also have Home by Marilyn Robinson to read. So I don't know how that happened. It wasn't intentional, but I'll take it. That's really what I have for you today. I'm so excited to be so close to 10% of the way through my list. I'm still really enjoying the project. This month I've just been reading some good books, not amazing books, but good books, and still having some wonderful buddy reads with some great friends. So it's been a lot of fun. But as always, like, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, everyone, thanks. Bye.